out there in listening land. It is Daria and Ivy with another not so giant women recording. Today we're going to have some arcade mania. So we know there's going to be an arcade and we know there's going to be mania.
Yep, not Arcade Fire. That's a band. My guess is, well, pretty much what Ivy just said, that I assume arcade in the sense of video games. Maybe one of the gems discovers this earthly delight and gets a mania for it.
There we go. A possible prediction for how this mania may manifest. Or they could just completely throw us for a loop and do something completely unrelated to both of those words. You never know.
Yeah, you can't be too sure in a prediction here. As you've pointed out, you can't even be too sure of prediction if you've read the episode synopsis on the site or guide or whatever you're reading. So there's no good cheating with that.
Yeah. Well, shall we do this thing?
Yeah, here we go. And I was going to press play now.
Are the crystal gems will always save the day. And if you think we can,
well, you're cooking.
What an episode.
Another of the, I suppose, lighter ones.
Yeah.
I briefly worried if Garnet was going to have proper video game addiction and we're going to get a very special Steven universe, but no such thing happened.
No. She was just transfixed. So, shall we have our summary?
All right, yep. Steven and the gems are on what is supposed to be a stealth mission, but for Steven's puffy jacket that he won't take off. It's making all kinds of rustly noises. It's even less quiet when Amethyst imitates the noises to try to get Steven into trouble. The gang run across some kind of rock monster crystalline spider thing, which Garnet charges into battle against and punches it right in the orifice.
The something.
Which makes short work of it. The spines, the cones it's been firing at the gang drill into the ground instead of being fired at the gang. Garnet dismisses them as parasites. Amethyst tries to follow and simply gets stuck in the ground and swallows a rock. Having completed today's mission, Steven says they've earned a reward. He, of course, has something in mind, which is to take them to Funland's arcade. Yes, Funland has an arcade as well as a fun park. Mr. Smiley is nonetheless there. The gems have differing reactions to the various games. Pearl is unimpressed with the racing and crashing car game because this game has no turn signals and she's trying to follow all of the road rules. Amethyst initially takes the skee ball, which I can understand because I kind of like skee ball and there's nowhere to play it around here anymore. However, Garnet is a slow learner and starts taking instructions for the games literally, punching the screen out of one and punching the little punch robot out of another, which as it is flying out of the room, asks everyone to tell its wife it loves her. Steven realizes that Garnet may function best on a Dance Dance Revolution type game called was it Meat Beat the Meat? Or these
Meat Beat Mania.
Meat Beat Mania, thank you. In which these maraca-like things, which are shaped like joints of meat, have to be shaken in time with the beat of the music. And Garnet takes this quite nicely. However, Mr. Smiley notices the damage to his other machines and throws our heroes out. The next morning, Steven asks what the mission is for today. Pearl says they haven't won yet. Amethyst says that Garnet will provide as she is the boss. Pearl dismisses it, simply saying that Garnet has enhanced senses that bring them to their next goal, which Amethyst says means she's the boss. Amethyst does decide to give Steven the mission of slamming his face into his cereal, which he doesn't mind as he's convinced this has defeated the giant foot they are fighting in his view of the world, despite Pearl's exasperation. Garnet, of course, is not there, which is why they're able to discuss her in her absence. We can probably guess where she is, but we don't know that yet. Steven decides to go down metal detecting on the beach, and during his beachcombing he finds quarters, finds a silver dollar, which is of apparently no use to him because he has limited understanding of money. And he metal detects another metal detector. While he's trying to pick up a coin, though, his hand is grabbed by one of the parasites from yesterday. There are a flock of them on the beach. They are changing from flying starfish to the little cone things that fling themselves around the place. Amethyst and Pearl try to come to the rescue, but there are just so many of them. Even in town, the cone starfish parasites are everywhere. As they run through town, Stephen realizes where Garnet must be, and that is that she is still beating the meat from yesterday. As the others fight the parasites with limited success, Stephen tries to break Garnet away from the game, and this does not work. She is completely, as Ivy said, enthralled, entranced. Stephen tries shaking her. He can't budge her. He tries talking to her. He tries climbing her. He knocks her shades off, and we see she, in fact, has 3 eyes in there, one of which switches color from time to time. He tries to unplug the machine. This doesn't work, as Garnet just grips the sides and sends a new jolt of energy through it. He realizes the only way to get her out of beating the meat is to beat his own meat to beat her. He grabs the other set of controls and tries to beat her at her own game. Doesn't work, though, because she's been practicing all night, and she is Garnet and he is not, and he is Stephen.
Well said.
Eventually, he rips part of the console out, which shorts out the game and brings Garnet back to her senses. She closes her middle eye and the color-changing eye and simply waves her hand, and her shades reappear, having disappeared when they hit her foot earlier. Thanking Stephen, she goes out to fight the parasites of the other 2. Mr. Smiley is having none of this, though, and makes Stephen stay behind because he broke the machines, and Stephen has to clean up the arcade for all the damage. The gems complete, well, as far as we can tell, they successfully fight off the parasites, but Stephen is still stuck sweeping the floor in the arcade under Mr. Smiley's instruction, and Iris out to credits.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty weird one.
Yeah. We learned a thing or two about Garnet, I'll say, first up.
It's really nice to see that.
Apart from the fact she is obviously really into musical games, she has 3 eyes, and this may be the source of her, or it's likely the source of her enhanced senses that Pearl refers to.
Yeah, a literal third eye.
Which also pretty much disappears when she closes it. I don't know if having a third eye makes you better at video games, or if that's just because she's a seasoned warrior and is taken to this battle. They also address what many viewers have thought, that Garnet is the boss. Pearl says she is not. Amethyst says she is. So obviously it's not something completely settled in story either.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really, really liked about this episode, because they don't ever sit down and say, this is our structure. I'm the leader. This one is the tech person. This one's the funny one. You know, they don't do that. But you've always seen that Garnet is like a badass, and she seems to be the one telling people what to do. But in this one, you definitely see that they look at her like she's the leader, and then Pearl's like, well, you know, we're a team.
Pearl's not quite ready to cede that title to someone yet.
Yeah. She's like, I totally help.
She's probably thinking, if she were truly a leader, surely she'd be more focused on organizing and filing and cleaning.
Yeah. Well, if you ever look at kind of how they're posed in scenes, a lot of times if Pearl is actively doing something, Garnet is just watching. She's usually not helping. So that's probably, that would definitely make Pearl feel like she's a more valuable member of the team if she's the one doing. Garnet's ready to punch stuff, but she's probably not going to sweep the floor.
No, and she's probably assessing information with any number of her eyes.
It's a very strong possibility, I would say.
And to think, just this morning I was wondering if gem garments were permanently attached like part of their flesh. So, But you can at least knock Garnet's shades off. As soon as they hit the floor or hit her foot, they disappear again, but they're at least removable.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. It kind of made some people say, like, what is that? Like, is it sort of a shape-shifting thing because she brought them back? Or does she just have infinite shades, like she has infinite fists? You know, like,
is it a kind of Green Lantern self-generating uniform thing?
Could be. Yeah. So it's funny, I kind of had to bite my lip when we were talking about what you would do if you saw under her shades one of the last episodes. You were like, I don't know, I might be disturbed by that.
She did look weird. I mean, apart from the third eye, even when she closed it away, that she's actually standing there with 2 expressive eyes when we're used to just the screen in front of her eyes and very little emotion from the rest of her face.
Yeah. I have wondered sometimes, like, how stoic would she really come across if you could see her expression? So I think that helps with her stoic badass image, is that you can't tell what her eyes are doing.
Yeah, she channels those as she's glaring at them but from behind the shades, but doesn't let it show in any other part of her face.
Yeah, well, it's definitely part of a sort of mystique she has, which, it works.
Yeah. And another creature whose gem can be bubbled away this week.
Yes.
Once Amethyst punched it in the whatever, there was a little spiky gem in a bubble. I'd like that the gems kind of reflect what they've been pulled out of. There's not just the same design of gem every time.
Right. There seem to be different shapes and therefore different body shapes as well. Yeah, that's true.
This one had spikes like the creature had, so you could definitely see the link there.
Yeah, it sure did. Looked very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I like that opening scene, just kind of Garnet completely confidently conquering this thing, and Amethyst is like, "Oh, I'm gonna help. Oh, I'm gonna slam myself into the ground. I'm gonna have myself pulled back out by Garnet, and I swallowed a rock." I liked when she was messing with Steven also, that she's making the sound trying to get him in trouble.
Which works.
Yeah, she's such a jerk sometimes. Like, you still love her, but oh my God.
I really like the monster design this week. It's kind of like a crab and a spider and an ankylosaurus had a baby.
Mm-hmm. That's a great description. I thought it was interesting that it had those spikes, those drill parasites that continued after the monster itself was gone. It reminded me of the Centipedo having little baby ones too.
Yeah, I guess.
Although we didn't see any baby ones after the original Centipedo was gone. So it's like we've seen two now that make like babies of themselves.
Yeah, wonder how they work, if they're just random parasites or if maybe this is what they do when their host gets punched away. They need to just go nuts looking for a new one and follow the nearest gem warriors and half humans they find back to Beach City.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I would have thought that if the host was gone, that the parasites would not continue on. But evidently, that is not how it works.
Yeah, I would have at least thought if they do continue on that their best priority would be to find another Lobstersaurus.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe the crystal shrimp are babies of a giant shrimp.
Yeah.
I just thought of that. Would like to see that monster. So I also thought it was really cute and really kid appropriate that Steven decided he was going to reward them for their hard work by taking them to the best place in the world, the arcade. And they're just not really into it, but he's like, this is going to be the best thing. I'm going to give you this wonderful time. It was so cute.
Yeah, and Garnet's reaction, of course, was half the episode, but the other two's reaction was very them. Amethyst was into skee ball properly for a bit until she found a better way to get tickets.
Right. Like, as soon as you see her smile like that, you're like, oh, she's going to cheat.
Yeah, I can imagine she wants a little scooter moped thing like Onion got.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what kind of amazing mischief could she get up to with that?
And it was kind of cute, Onion just sitting there all night just watching Garnet.
Yeah, sipping a soda. Absolutely. Yeah, I adore it when you see him in the background just observing chaos. It's adorable.
And Pearl summed herself up nicely as soon as
I
she
did have
sits
my
in
doubts about, like, we've been getting to know the gems as we watched from the beginning. Huh? What's that?
Pearl summed herself up nicely. As soon as she gets in the racing game, she's looking for the turn signal.
Yep, exactly. And I was surprised that Steven was like, I'm going to give Pearl this game where she has to make a mess of everything and break rules. Like, I mean, we know she's not going to be into that, but like, why does he think she's going to be into that? I wondered that, but I also thought, oh, maybe he just thinks that she'll enjoy operating a vehicle.
And I think, as she said a little bit ago, he just got this fog of people must enjoy video games. So he's gone, this is a video game, you'll enjoy it, and hasn't necessarily figured out this isn't the best one for her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what she'd probably like one of those 3-match games better, but
I think she might have actually been into skee ball because she likes to throw her spears and stuff like that. It's a precision game, and she'd probably be really good at it. But, there's no I don't know, Amethyst would probably be into the destruction of the...
Yeah, actually, they've done nicely switched around. And Skee-Ball, I was going to say Skee-Ball has rules. Skee-Ball has mostly one rule, which Amethyst managed to break, but...
It'd probably be too easy for her. Yeah, she'd have to... There's no way to advance. Like, at least with Garnet's game, it starts to go faster and faster and faster. But with something like Skee-Ball, they don't get farther away or smaller holes or anything. So she'd probably get bored of it. Either that or she'd enter into a competition with Amethyst and be very angry if Amethyst got close to catching up with her.
They put some thought into the games, which they often don't in cartoons or in fact in TV in general, where they're just sort of flashing boxes that beep every so often.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the details on the Meat Beat Mania, that the two players are represented by a pig and a chicken, and the maracas are pork chops and drumsticks. Everything
was so planned out, as if someone had actually had these meetings of how they're going to design these games, and they're not even real. Yeah. And if I don't know how universal this was, but in like that time, like a long time ago when I was a kid, all these video games, when you would go to these arcades, they would have that same message on them. Winners don't use drugs. It was on there for like a second before he started one of the games. It had, and instead of Capcom, it said Carpcom.
Yeah, I do remember those messages of other things like, it's only a game, which was, admonishing you from taking the rivalry outside the game and beating up the other kids.
Yeah. The Meat Beat Mania thing was actually censored in some countries.
The double entendre too much for them?
Yeah, they don't like, the pretty obvious masturbation joke. So,
I was a little surprised that got through, but
there's quite a few things that do in this show. But I believe they took out the meat word. They took that off, and it just said Beat Mania,
which I guess if you didn't know would work fine because it is a game about a beat. But it wouldn't be one of the dodgiest examples of censorship we've seen, because we've seen things where sentences cut off halfway through, or I was watching a Filipino TV series a while ago. They'd obviously learnt late in the game they couldn't show brand names. Oh. And so they actually had captions on screen with the fake brand name over the real one in shot. But it was just it wasn't like clever CGI. It was the sort of caption you use for credits and locations.
Wow. So it's really obvious when it happens.
Yeah.
I know a few things about alternate dialogue that they have to record for this show, because it's shown in quite a few countries. So there's especially with regard to, I guess, violence. If we mention violence, there's a lot of countries where you can't say something that violent and they'll say something else. It's really interesting.
The old never say die rule still pops up now and again just when you think it's gone, which makes it weird when you watch an older cartoon or a newer cartoon where they can talk about death and just call it death. It kind of leaps out at you. I watched one which I learned how to, I can't remember what it was, but had a weird rule. You could talk about death or dying or being killed. You could have characters die. You couldn't talk about death in relation to the actual on-screen deaths.
I see. Definitely not the case with this show. I don't know that there's been a lot of examples of that as such, but there definitely will be. Even in jest, like, oh, I'm going to die and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we have had things like that, which would be far too on the nose for earlier shows.
Yep. So let's see.
And obviously, this one doesn't have the rule about child endangerment.
Oh no! I mean, they put a helmet on him, but they don't make him wear the helmet when he's in battle. Like, what? Yeah. I guess they just figure kids aren't going to go out and fight monsters, but they will get on a bicycle. Oh my goodness. What do you think Amethyst would try to buy with tickets? She said she was going to win an airplane.
I think, she would get as many tickets as she could and just buy the biggest thing she could, regardless of what it was. I think this might be a trophy for her, a status symbol. So even if she doesn't want that room-sized stuffed llama, she will get the tickets for it and she will win it. And
even though she cheated.
And she will stick it in the living room and she will look at the huge stuffed llama I won, even if she has no particular regard for stuffed toys or llamas, because she won the big stuffed llama.
Definitely. I could definitely see that, especially after the episode before this where she was sort of teasing Pearl with that pillow and saying like, my kill, my keep. And then she wouldn't bubble it away. She just had to have it in the living room. Trophy.
That does work when she plays off Pearl, who Pearl's like, it's not about winning, but I'd rather I won instead of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pearl is really overt about that, but I feel like we saw some competitive aspects of Garnet today too. Like she punches the screen and she's like, I did it. And then she punches the punch buddy. I win again. She's so funny that way.
Well, if she's been presented with a challenge, she must meet it. We saw that also before with the rotating room when she said, then we're just going to do it again and again and again. And like,
she wouldn't mind.
we got a thing we got to win over, and I'm going to win it over.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Seemed like I feel like she was too much of a trance to even realize that Steven was even there, but I wonder if she registered on any level that there was a challenger, like that she was playing 2-player for like a short time and went into that mode to have to beat the other person. I mean, it was not hard for her at all. I mean,
yeah, or if she just kept going so hard it didn't really matter if the other person was there. Mm-hmm. Or maybe part of her mind was just completely in the game world.
That's what I think.
Another player turns up, but it's just part of the world she is in. She is in the zone. It doesn't really relate to whether anything flesh and blood is going on around her.
Yeah, because I like to think that if she really registered that people were in trouble, she would go help them. You couldn't get through that shell.
Yeah, well, as noted, the other two were having limited success with the cone starfish parasites. So people weren't seriously dying off or anything. It was mostly just a spot of chaos, far from the worst she's faced, and no one's in serious dilemma, in peril. You're going to make a few holes in the board.
Ruined, but exactly. You just don't want to be in the path of those things. So.
And as we've explored before, that's probably pretty minor league compared to the property damage they see every week in Beach City.
I did really appreciate that Steven couldn't beat her, because in most cartoons, like the kid would somehow just would win, and he couldn't beat her, and that was great.
Yeah, we didn't have a power of heart moment, and there wasn't some cheesy I'm great at video games because I'm a kid moment.
Right, exactly, because he does have those moments where he pulls some solution out of his butt, like in the first episode when he uses that cookie cat fridge to electrocute the centipedal. It's like sometimes he'll just find this off the wall way, but this time it was just like, nope, I'm just gonna have to literally destroy the machine. He just ripped that thing off, that grill, just ripped it out and pounded the screen with it. He tried peaceful methods. He unplugged it, and Garnet pulled out random electricity powers and turned it back on.
Yeah, because she can do that.
Because she's Garnet.
Well, there's another way they save money. Apparently she can just zap an appliance and it works.
I have drawn fan art of her charging Steven's phone.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, I want to see that.
Yeah. And there's, I don't know if they do it anymore, but there was a blog that I used to enjoy reading for a while where they would do texts that were from the gems, texting each other and what kind of conversations they would have if they all had a phone. And one of the fun little Easter eggs of that was Garnet's phone was always at 100%. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I like that style of, I don't know, comic probably isn't quite the word, entertainment medium. There's another one I read called Text from Superheroes, which is pretty funny, and Text from Dog.
Yeah, it's like that. Text from Gems. I'm sure it was inspired by that genre, but it's fun to do. So another quirky thing I liked was him finding a metal mutt with his metal mutt.
Yeah.
That was so funny to me.
And this just thrills him all the more. Double dog.
Yeah. Like, is this yours, Steven? Did you lose yours out here? Or did some other weirdo on this beach lose a metal mutt in your beach?
Is this how he found the first one?
Right. Yeah.
I can imagine Greg as a beachcomber.
Oh, absolutely. I bet you he learned it from watching Greg do it. I had not thought of that till you said it, but I could 100% picture it. That's fun. I don't know if you've ever done that, but I did it once, beachcombing.
I haven't, but a friend of mine's dad was proper into it, and we used to occasionally tag along.
That's fun.
He'd never find anything, but we're at that age that the very idea of a thing that could detect metal from a distance was just magical.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's literal magic. It knows what's under the ground. It's amazing. There's more absurd humor like that was the whole cereal conversation.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
And Pearl's just having no luck persuading them there is no giant foot.
Yes. She's just like doing her spear practice or something. This is actually one of my pet peeves about cartoons was in that, because she's swinging the spear around and there's sword noises. Like it's like metal on metal kind of noises, but she's just swinging the spear around. It's like, it's not going to make that noise if it's not rubbing other metal. And it's just like, zing, zing, but it's one spear.
No, right there with you.
Yeah, I did notice that, but you know, I guess I would be all right with having to concede that it's a magical spear, so maybe it just makes that noise. All right.
It's probably got settings. You can probably customize sounds.
Oh my goodness. Well, if it had settings, you know, Pearl would have them on flashy. Everybody has to know that she's practicing.
Yeah, Amethyst probably puts the latest MP3s into hers.
In her whip.
Yeah.
Well, she jump ropes with it or something.
She didn't pop out her whip during the parasite battle at first. I don't know if that was a thing or she just didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I think she was protecting Steven. She was running with him like a football. So she didn't fight.
It did look like Pearl actually got more of the parasites in that shot than Amethyst did. She just kind of waved her fists around, but
yeah. That's actually when they start coming at them, and Pearl has Pearl has her spear out, and Amethyst just like she ends up hugging Pearl. She's just like holding on to her, like, you're gonna hide behind her? What? Where? How? She's a stick. That was kind of cute.
At least the middle few centimeters of me will be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you have, but I have played DDR, and I love DDR, and it's really, really addictive. So I kind of feel Garnet on that rhythm game thing. I could definitely get sucked into something like that.
Yeah. I've played it or its off-brand cousins a few times, but
yes.
Yeah.
I believe this one was I think it was based on a couple different games that were kind of rolled into one. One of them was Samba de Amigo, I think is the name of it. I never played that one. And there's some other rhythm game that's like that.
Well, in that respect, a little bit Guitar Hero-ish too.
Oh, yeah. I like that game too. I tried to play it with my friends, and I'm a singer, so they were expecting me to want to sing, but I ended up not knowing any of the songs. So, I mean, you can't sing the songs if you don't know the songs. I played drums. And I like that. I thought that was cool.
We knew the songs too well when we played Guitar Hero, and we kind of try to interpret the version in our heads rather than what's on screen. So we don't do too well at the actual game.
I see, because you do have to follow what it tells you to do, or it says, you're wrong, you're horrible. Let's see. What else episode-wise can we talk about? Well, we saw Mr. Smiley again.
Yeah, he had a bit less beard. He had a bit less beard this time.
What?
I really noticed he had less beard this time.
Oh.
I don't know, unless there's Smiley Brothers that run the Funland franchises.
Yeah, well, he wasn't too smiley today. He was very angry that Steven was causing his games to get busted.
No, sooner or later I'm going to be surprised he let Steven anywhere near him, because the time before last that we saw him, Steven smashed up or was responsible for the destruction of his amusement park.
Right, and he banned him from all the rides forever, but not the arcade. Just ban him from every business you own, Mr. Smiley, however many businesses that is.
It's obviously further incarnation of the Smiley/Funland entertainment franchise.
Well, I don't know how he keeps it going. I mean, especially if he's giving away prizes like mopeds.
Yeah, well, I guess that would take a lot of quarters.
Yeah, it's true. There's probably not a whole heck of a lot else to do on that boardwalk besides to go to his businesses and eat the food from the other families. So he probably makes a good living. He just doesn't have time to live it.
Yeah, maybe he just in some way or another owns every shop or business or everything on the boardwalk, and he really just has to check in on them while the money comes rolling in.
Seems like a real busy guy. And then at night, he's over at the wrestling.
There you go. He's probably taking in money there from the soda sales and the tickets.
I wouldn't doubt it. You're right. It's got to be. It's very lucrative. I wonder what he's going to do with all of that. I did really also like that after Garnet was back to her normal self, she went and joined her teammates, and they just came together. Like, they just, everything was fine when she was there. It's just like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah, the trio are functioning again. We've got this. And by this point, we can be so assured we've got this that we will watch Stephen sweeping the floor instead of a battle with starfish parasites.
Right. Yeah. You just see him flipping around outside now and then.
I'd like to do this in the show, just kind of have some missions or battles that take place off screen to kind of assure us that the gems are quite capable beings.
Yep.
Which works better than just telling us they're quite capable and never giving us anything to go from. I guess they're getting also more into taking Stephen on missions, take him on the stealth mission, whatever its main aim was, but was to stop the Spidersaurus thing. But they were worried about him making noise, not him being there at all. So it seems like they're warming up to what they are willing to let him partake of.
Yeah, you're right. He seems to be present on a lot of adventures lately, and they're not questioning, like, why are you here, or how to, that he doesn't have to convince them to take him. Yeah, although nobody really did anything on that mission except Garnet.
Yes, so, I don't know. Maybe they didn't know it had a nice big kill button on the bottom of it.
Maybe they didn't. But even if he's not going to do anything, it's good for him to be there and get an idea of how battle goes and help with what he can help.
Yeah. Between them, Pearl and Amethyst kind of balance out how dangerous something is to be for him, because Pearl thinks everything is too dangerous for him, and Amethyst is right up the other end of the scale, which means if you kind of balance them out, you can tell how dangerous something is likely to be. Especially if Amethyst actually does think something dangerous, it probably means things are serious. Yeah,
that's a good observation, because like normally if she's just joking around or whatever, you can pretty much guess that nobody's really going to be in deathly danger there. But, she's a good litmus test for how serious something is, I think.
Yeah.
Unless she just doesn't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, perceptive as any of them are, they're certainly not omniscient, so they can all be taken by surprise.
Seems that way. So, on that note, should I ask you a probing question?
Probe away.
I think I thought of something. So we're talking about Garnet being the boss earlier, and just now we're talking about Amethyst and how she might act on a mission. So we see that Pearl is reluctant to acknowledge that Garnet is the boss. So if Garnet is the boss, that might be true, but who do you think might be the oldest in the group? I feel like it would be between Pearl and Garnet. But
yeah, I was going to say, if this question was the youngest, it wouldn't be too hard.
Because, Stephen.
Well, yeah. But even of the not human at all gems, I think it'd be a safe bet that Amethyst is the youngest, certainly the least mature.
She certainly acts like it.
I could actually see Pearl as the oldest, but not the most experienced. Because a lot of what she seems to be experienced with other than battle seems to be fairly mundane things. Her obsession as a sort of cleaning, order, etc., etc. I definitely think Garnet is the most experienced, because she comes across as someone who takes a lot in her stride, in the sense that she has had a lot of stride and therefore has learned to take a lot in it.
Yeah.
If I had to guess based on character designs, which is a bit neither here nor there, I would say Pearl also looks a little older, but there's not much to go on there, to be honest, because there's such different designs, and gem-wise, you've only got the 3 to go on as well. So we're kind of using human standards and a small sample size.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you had to pick one of them, it seems like Pearl is easily the most like classical, older, like old style. She looks more, she doesn't look modern, and she doesn't look futuristic. She looks like a classic look to her.
Occasionally vaguely flapperish.
Ah, I could see that.
But yeah, and we've talked before how she comes across as the classic maiden aunt thing here and there, which is another sort of older character type.
Yeah.
And of course, I have no idea if gems actually age the same way as humans, if indeed at all.
Right.
I don't know if they spring fully formed as they are now.
Mm-hmm. I promise, though, that the question that I asked here, this probing question, it wasn't like any kind of leading question. I'm just wondering what you thought if you had to pick who was oldest.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'd say, is that I think the oldest and most experienced aren't the same person in this instance.
Mm-hmm. Those are some interesting observations.
I also occasionally get the idea that maybe back in the days when there were more gems doing more things, that Pearl might have had a few mission control type roles rather than being out in the field as often as the others.
Ah, could be.
Which would go with a great sense of organization.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely I really like to organize myself, and that's the one way that I relate the most to Pearl. Pearl is not a relatable character to me in most other ways, but definitely like the caring about order and organizing stuff. I relate to her a lot on that. And getting frustrated with other people who mess it up.
I love the idea of order, but actually creating it is another question.
Uh-huh. So your filing system is more like Amethyst?
A bit, yeah. It wants to be like Pearl's, but when it comes to actually doing things, it gets a bit Amethyst. Or it gets a bit Garnet. I just want everyone to do it all for me.
I see. Yeah. So.
Nothing to eat or sing this week.
There was indeed no music.
Oh, there was the cereal.
But there was cereal. Yeah, food-wise, there was no special dish, but it probably doesn't surprise you that I have acted out that scene with the cereal.
It does not. So, they look to be your fairly standard Loops or Cheerios or what have you, the cereal.
I did use Cheerios, and I did a cute little reenactment of that scene with a couple of my plushies and me in the creepy Steven mask.
Of course.
Yep. And I posted it on one of my social media with Cheerios all over the mask face saying, had a successful morning. I defeated the foot. And I don't think too many people got it, but,
I just realized a spot of cultural osmosis. Now, I know perfectly well what Cheerios are, but I don't think you can get them here.
No?
But I instantly recognize them and know they're a cereal of little Loops.
Yep. I bet you Steven was eating the honey nut variety. Because cereal, especially in the United States, I don't know where else, but especially here in the United States, the cereal aisle is this nightmare of sugar. And these cereals are completely devoid of nutritional content. So I was actually surprised to see that Steven was eating something that has, even in the most sweet variety, which would be the honey kind, it has some variety or some nutritional value rather. The kind that I was eating was multigrain Cheerios. I like that better, but you can get regular, you can get multigrain, you can get the honey kind. I think there's some kind of frosted kind now actually, so I may have lied when I said that Honey Nut was the sweetest, but I would not be surprised if you had been eating Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah, it's about the same here. You get the more sweet type ones like Fruit Loops and Cocoa Pops, which I think have some other name over there, but you can probably guess what they are from the name, and various of cartoon mascots. But we've also got the quote unquote dull ones like Corn Flakes and Wheat Bix and stuff like that, which are, flakes of grain of some kind.
Yeah, I gotta say, even though I have the interests and the pursuits that I do, one of the ways that I am definitely a boring grown-up is that I prefer that kind of cereal. I prefer boring cereal.
No, same.
I guess we're old, oh God.
So I have seen what you describe as some of the more nightmarish American cereals. There's, at one of the nearby markets, there's an American food import shop, and compared to... even compared to Australian equivalents of the same products, you can kind of tell how ramped up the sugar and various other things are in there. And
Yeah.
just something about seeing them when you're used to the Australian ones, the sweetness almost seems to enter the air.
Yes. I don't understand why there has to be sugary versions of these cereals that are actually pretty sweet already. So it's like, oh, you want some junk on your junk? Okay. So I did do the cereal, and there was really nothing else that I could make pass for a recipe, so that was really it. It doesn't really count. I still put it on my recipes list, but it's barely a recipe.
Yeah, mash is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Get Cheerios or your Loop cereal of choice, and
Yeah.
some milk or your milk substitute of choice. Put in bowl. Put face in bowl.
Yes, pretty much. I will say that there's some cereal later on that I made in an oven. Like I made a cereal, and it was very extra of me, but
I love that
You'll
you
get
go
to
the
see
extra
that.
kilometer for these.
well, I mean, sometimes I don't know why I'm doing this, because I know that Steven isn't, he's not making cereal, but whatever. I guess I just want an excuse to make an art form out of something I saw on a cartoon.
Dedication to the bit.
Mm-hmm. So, but even I cannot make a recipe exist when there isn't one. So,
And it's another one of those things you don't, in this week's case, there's nothing to recreate. You can literally go to the shop and buy the cereal.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but especially early on, the Crooniverse used to have parties when one of their episodes would come out, and they would often do kind of what I do, where they would have some kind of themed food. And a lot of times the themed food was not something that was eaten in the show, although sometimes it was. A lot of times they would find some way to make a model of something that was in the show. I believe someone made like lady fingers, but they were cat fingers.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and I haven't reproduced those, like, because those are their ideas, but sometimes they've coincided. And so sometimes they'll make like a prop out of Rice Krispie treats or something. So that's pretty cool. Like if there was nothing to make, they could still make something. They could make the monster of the week or something like that.
I imagine there's a lot of attraction for those people that make those elaborate cakes. There must be a lot of temptation to make replicas of stuff that way.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some really good ones from professional bakers. I've seen one or two that they made a cake that looked like a together breakfast, but it was a cake, stuff like that. Oh, I've seen some amazing ones. Of course, they're using really advanced bakery tools and fondant and stuff like that. And I don't really like that stuff. So, but I did make that strawberry cake, and it was very fancy for me. For episode 8.
Sounded very nice. Had the virtual taste of that when you're describing it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. My kitchen smelled so good that day. Cooking strawberries. Oof. And it's nice because some people don't like the taste of fake strawberry, like a flavoring. This completely does away with that feeling, like that you're eating something fakey. So, well, now that we've gone back to episode 8, well, there was no food this time except cereal. So we don't, as you said, there's not really music to talk about, although the video game music was cool. I did like how video gamey it was, which was not too surprising that it was great because of the people that do the music for this have a background in video gamey stuff.
Yeah, and we've spoken before about how a lot of video game ethos ends up in the show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't always know if they mean to or not, but as you've said, they're very into video games, so I think it just ends up in there. And when they're actually doing video games in the show, they'd be able to bring it all home.
Yeah. It's clear at this point that Steven himself has played quite a lot of video games. He's saying, like, his special move is forward, forward, back, top towards half circle. He knows all the combos.
That's a real thing in video games to say, oh, it's got a special move. All you have to do is... And I'm like...
Yeah, I would just mash buttons.
Yeah, I'm like, I can just about tell the difference between punch and kick in this game.
Mm-hmm. I did like those brawl games, though. Like, once I figured out a couple things that I can do, I had a lot of fun with those. I'd play a lot in high school.
Yeah, same. Played Double Dragon a lot was one of them.
You did?
Yeah.
I used to play, like, the X-Men versus Street Fighter. And it used to play, Mortal Kombat and then also Street Fighter. But
Yes,
I started to get too confused about in the Mario games when they started putting maps on things. I'd get lost. I always get lost in real life, so I didn't want to get lost in a video game.
the Marvel Street Fighter game was very popular at the local arcade at the time here.
Yeah, us too. Like me and one of my friends would basically do the same thing Steven was doing, except we didn't have a metal mutt. We'd be walking around outside the arcade looking for quarters in the grass, or like checking the coin returns and trying to get one more game. Or like one time we were hanging around watching some guys playing and trying to get them to pay for us to play against them. Sometimes that works. So we were freeloaders. We didn't have any money. We were teenagers. So
Yeah, I remember it well. There are a lot of games I used to just watch rather than play.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes that's more fun. Is what it is. We used to sometimes rent a game from like the Blockbuster. We'd rent a video game and try to beat it before we had to take it back. But that was sometimes really hard to do.
Yeah, especially as you go on later and later in games, they get longer and longer.
Yeah. And unless it was the weekend, you had to go to school. You couldn't just like devote all of your time to playing it anyway. That's my life. Any guesses as to what you think my piece of merchandise this week is?
Ooh. There's a few options. I'm torn between meat maracas and starfish parasites.
Well, yes. I guess I should pull this out. Okay, so I have a little it's a McFarlane toy set of Garnet playing the video game. And it does have meat maracas that you can put into her hands.
Oh, that's
pretty cool. Little meat guys.
Ah.
So she can hold them.
I like that
Garnet is, I had to put it together. So Garnet does not have her visor on. She's very involved.
Yep.
But she looks much more animated in this. She's not blank and transfixed. She's like angry looking and smiling.
Maybe this is like a later session where she manages to play the game without getting entirely drawn in.
That would be great. That's a great explanation for it. I don't know. I think I just pulled off the whole. Yeah, I tried to take the meat out and put it in her hands, but I broke the game like Steven.
Oh.
I just like pulled the whole handle off. I don't know my own strength. Now I'm trying to play with this toy and I don't know how to do it. So, but the screen on it is very Meat Mania-y.
Yeah.
It's just a big sticker. And it was a lot of fun to put together.
Looks like it, yeah.
I have a few of these. The one that I showed you of Greg's van is also one of these series.
I wondered if it was part of a whole bunch.
Yeah, there's like 6 of them. There she is holding them.
This one also definitely shows us why she's called Captain Square. Her hair is quasi-cubic in what you're showing me.
Yes. It's a little bit bread loafy, but it's definitely like square. Her whole head is like a Frankenstein monster.
Well, I've thought of her hair as bread-shaped since episode 1, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely looks like a bread loaf to me. So this episode was storyboarded also by Lamar Abrams, who I think is a weirdo, and by Alice Romanillos again, and I think it's Luke Weber is the third storyboarder on here, and Luke did not do any more before or after this. I don't know why he was on this one.
Didn't recognize his name.
Nope.
Maybe he's just like a staff animator or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there were a couple in this early in season 1 where, and it always seemed to occur with boarding with Lamar Abrams. It would be some person I never saw before or since would board with him and then disappear forever. So I have some questions for Lamar Abrams. Who are you driving away from storyboarding, sir? I don't know. They might have been like borrowing people to stand in until they got like a permanent person.
Maybe Lamar Abrams is like slow or late or someone, and they have to like call someone in, just whoever they get to fill in.
I don't know, because I know Aleph, who did Steven's Lion with Lamar, so they did 2 in a row together. Aleph doesn't do stuff typically. Like Aleph works on the show, but not as a storyboarder usually. And then we have this one, and then I guess the next one that Lamar does is with another person who appears once and disappears. And then the next one he does by himself. And then the next one after that, he also does by himself. So I'm like, could you just get nobody to work with Lamar? Is he too weird?
As word spread by the time of those later episodes.
Yeah. They finally do get him a relatively regular person by episode 23. So, and she works with him until, let's see. Oh my goodness. It's late. It's somewhere in season 2, early season 2. He gets a regular person to work with him. But now I'm forgetting which episode number that is. Not that it matters. But yeah, I think it's 59, if I'm not mistaken, is the last one that he does with that person. Enough of that random trivia. What else? Do I have any other random trivia? Oh, I wrote down in this window over here what the episode description was. If you had read it and spoiled yourself, you would have heard Steven takes the crystal gems to Funland Arcade, where Garnet learns the allure of video games. That spoils too much! It's too much! It's just too much.
Especially as she is the one you would least expect to find the allure of video games.
I agree. Like, if I had decided, hey, let me be real specific with my request for a prediction from you or something in the beginning. Like, okay, who's going to get wrapped up in Arcade Mania? Like, which of the 3?
Yeah, like if it was Amethyst and that made it into the description, you'd go, yeah, that'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of having an episode description spoil what's going to happen. But like we've said in several other ones, it seems like they're written for people who want to know, oh, that's the episode where blah, blah, blah. This is the one I've seen that I want to learn. So,
Well, sometimes it's like some seem to have one description for before it goes out, another for later when they figure everyone knows.
I guess so. I remember reading some stuff where there were some pretty spoilery episode descriptions way, way before a bunch of episodes came out, like 20 episodes in advance for season 1. There was still plenty of speculation, but I guess if they're going to give stuff away like that in the description, there's still plenty of surprises.
The people who make the Arrowverse shows, they started their big crossover last week, and they accomplished part of that by simply lying, so...
Well, you just learn not to trust them.
That kept us on our toes.
I'll bet. My gosh. Well, there's an example of that in... I'm still playing with my toys. There's an example of that in Steven Universe, kind of too far down for me to mention yet, but people got really mad about it, even though it wasn't straight up lying. It was like sort of misdirection. And I don't know, people were acting like they had been betrayed, and they were like so angry about this misdirection. And I don't know, it's amazing how out of proportion to what actually happened the reaction was.
Well, fortunately, in the Arrowverse ones, the fandom seems to have been so pleased with the surprises as to get over being lied to.
I see.
I certainly was.
Well, because there are a couple of Crooniverse people who answer questions sometimes on media and stuff, I have seen a couple times where something that someone says was widely interpreted one way, and it turned out to not be a lie, but you could see why everybody took it to mean something else. And then people were like, I don't trust anything they say, even if they straight up answer a question. Like, it's just, they think nobody on that crew is trustworthy. And I'm like, come on, they're trying to help you understand. And if you don't want to believe them, it's up to you. But I consider the question answered. So it's a new age. We can communicate with show creators, and they can do with that power what they will. Is what it is.
Yeah, I do like a good creator Q&A, but certainly wouldn't want to be spoiled for some big surprise if they go, oh yeah, this guy's real father is in fact, 2 seasons early or something.
Yeah. You would hope that they wouldn't ever do something like that, or go out of their way to like hint something else, and then that's really annoying too. What do they call that? A red herring?
Yeah. I was actually at a live Q&A where an actor accidentally revealed there and then that they left the show that everyone thought they were still on.
Oh, wow. That was a whammy.
Yeah, because, of course, to the actor, they'd finished working on it months previously.
Yeah. I have seen a couple times where people who are maybe on the voice cast, they don't quite realize where in the broadcast we are, and they'll say something that's not really a spoiler, but they'll say something that makes us realize something that they didn't realize we didn't know.
Yeah. Just little things like this guy said, "Oh, I played Sergeant Bolton for 3 years." And people went, "Played?" He went, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, right. Exactly. You have to be careful.
Okay, so any more to delve on this one?
Well, I don't have any more fun factoids for you, and I think we pretty well covered the episode. So I am ready to move on if you are.
I certainly am ready for... I don't even know the title of the next one. I haven't looked at that yet. For episode 12.
For episode 12.
I guess I'll say the thing. Until next time, when you hear me react to episode 12, will be Ivy and Daria, the Not So Giant Women, signing off.
Yes. Until next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Ivy and Daria on Not So Giant Women.
You can find episodes of the show in video form by looking up Not So Giant Women on YouTube,
or in audio form at anchor.fm/Not So Giant Women, or your podcatcher of choice. You can also find us on Facebook.
Audio production by Daria.
Video production and music by Ivy.
Daria can also be heard on Podsploitation, the Ozploitation podcast,
and Ivy at her Steven Universe fan blog at love-takes-work.tumblr.com.
Steven Universe was created by Rebecca Sugar and remains property of Cartoon Network.
No infringement is intended.